Tony, you guys were had 16-14 in the first half, and from that point, it looked like you really started focusing on going inside, outscoring them 42-12 in the paint. Did you send a message that you wanted the ball to go inside?
Well, I thought we got some decent shots, missed some. I think guys were a little anxious. We didn't finish the way we should have, but I saw we had 14 offensive rebounds in the first half, and you know, we were just with our shots, they didn't look real good. They weren't going down. Decent looks, a few of them maybe were a little forced. But getting on the glass, and I thought getting out in transition were the two things that sort of opened it up for us. And, you know, nice flurry at the end of the first half. Darius and Devin gave us nice lifts, and I thought that kind of helped extend it. And then we just continued on in the second half inside and being certainly inside oriented against their size. They were short-handed and so very small, and I knew it'd be hard, you know, some of the matchups just guarding out there, and the young man through Kyle Thomas hit some nice shots. You know, he thought we contested them, and I know for like the Jacks and for Mike Toby, those guys, they'd have to slide their feet a little more.
You obviously really struggled with the short shot clock. That was a problem for your defense. How do you think the guys handled it? And I know it's a one-game sample, but what did you think of the impact, if there was one?
Yeah, in this game it wasn't. You know, I don't think it was relevant in this game. I think there'll be games, as I've said before, you're going to have to be intentional about getting the ball up the floor, and when teams are really set and they're hard to score against, you know, you gotta rotate the ball, so that'll come into play. And, you know, hopefully when we're really locked in defensively, it'll be hard. We had a few shot clock violations against them, but time will tell certainly with that.
You could talk about the decision to start Thompson, and what do you think of his stat line?
I didn't look at his stat line. I mean, yeah, no, I like the 0 turnovers a lot, 3 steals. He gets his hands, he's long, and he gets his hands on balls in the passing lane defensively. And then obviously he's good in the open court. He gives us a dimension that we haven't had. I think I mentioned that to you guys before. And he was, you know, as I said before, with Malcolm in London, pretty established. Mike and Anthony, you know, certainly depending upon matchups. But Devin and Marielle and Evan and Darius were all kind of guys I've thought about, and I just think Darius gives us another ball handler, as does Devin too. But Darius, you know, played some point guard at Tennessee, and I like the notion of having 3 kind of point guard types out there, ball handling guards, and then I like Devin's lift, his off the bench, and Marielle, their scores off the bench. And today I went with Evan Moore as a forward sub, a 4-man sub. So that's how we played against Vanderbilt in the scrimmage. I started those guys and that. I'm trying to think. I think I might have done that against VCU too.
What did you think of Mike Toby? And I guess he missed like 2 tips and then didn't miss again.
Yeah, once he got established, I thought Anthony and Mike were they had a little trouble finishing early, which surprised me. I think just opening night, and I think they were just maybe a little anxious, but then they settled in and they could have their way just because of the size advantage. And then, yeah, no, Mikey looks a little stronger, a little more explosive, made some up and unders, again, good hands on the catch, and that was good to see. And, you know, obviously the free throw line, I didn't think he stayed with his free throws long enough. He'd shoot them. He was already kind of leaving them before they were in, but he and Anthony in their limited minutes, well, they both had about 20 minutes, had 9 offensive rebounds between the two of them.
Going forward, you talked about how you did the lineup and the rotation. Obviously, there was a bit of a mismatch talent-wise tonight. Going forward, do you have a vision of where you want to go, or is it too early?
Well, I think you saw, you know, Jared did a good job, and you saw Jack's physicality. You saw our depth. I believe it will be a game-to-game kind of rotation depending upon what kind of teams you play. I'll study George Washington. I know how good they are. I know how they challenged us last year. They have everybody back, how physical they are, all that. There's going to be times you're going to need physicality. So, you know, that's where a guy like Jack or Jared has a chance in there. And, you know, you can't always play like this, 11 guys or 10 or however many I played, so that's going to be tricky. But I think you'll look at some different matchups, and you're going to need physicality. And you could see that in Jack. I hope you could see that, and you can see that certainly with Jared. So those guys are certainly part of the equation as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Jack. Did you notice the reception he got out there? And any explanation for why it was, got such a loud ovation?
Oh, I thought they showed you on the scans. That wasn't Jack. I thought they put your face up, Whitey, so I didn't realize that was Jack that they put up. So, yeah, he's I don't know why they did it. He's one of the most likable guys you've ever been around, and he's he's a good guy. I didn't realize that. Does our SID know or not? Why? Yeah. You know what they did? They saw him in the scrimmage. He did a nice job. He and Jared did, and yep. So maybe they're rugby fans or All Black fans in the crowd. You never know. So that's why they cheered for Jack.